I'm a little late to the party with the whole Trump thing. But my thoughts on that is, well, the thing is, at first, the way I thought of Trump was, I thought he was kind of stupid. I thought he was basically a C student. And most people don't know that C students always hire A students, my father used to say. And they were smart enough to know who was smart enough in the class, so they can basically copy off on your tests and stuff. So you had to be smart enough to know who the A students were. And I always thought Hillary as the stereotype of Hillary was just that she was bossy, that she was kind of like not liked by most women. She was kind of mean and kind of manly or whatever. But some people like that. I don't know. But I thought the image was most people didn't like that. Women didn't like that. And but the thing is, Trump said a lot of controversial things. He said pretty much with Rand Paul, and Prospero and all. What else? Names start with R. They said a lot of controversial stuff, but the difference was Trump he was a salesman. He was selling it pretty good. He was getting a lot of attention. And Hillary, the problem is that they was fighting the same way they always fight. They use emotions, they use celebrities, they paid a lot of people, paid them off, whatever. They had all the journalists paid off, they had the news paid off. A lot of times you can always tell who's going to win based on if the news is nice to you or not. If the news is mean to you or they're not even paying attention to you, it usually means you're going to lose. But so the funny thing is the opposite thing happened. So that was a little weird about it. So, and Trump, yeah, he was slandered about everybody. Only place he was seen in a positive light was on the internet. But everybody thought it was a joke. It's like even the internet didn't know what was happening. They were supporting Trump because he was funny, he was provocative, he was different, he was not a politician. They thought it was a joke anyway. They thought no way he was going to win. So we were all for Trump, thinking that he was going to lose. So a lot of people say don't vote for people you know is not going to win. But if people don't vote for you, how are you going to win anyway? So people saw Hillary as, she's a politician, she's been in the game for a long time, it's the government, why wouldn't she win? Even though she's a woman, it's like, why wouldn't she win? She was more qualified. And the argument for Trump was he wasn't qualified. He wasn't qualified enough. But to me, that's a good thing. If a person is not a good politician, if their compliment is they're a good politician, how is that a compliment? If the politicians are known to be corrupt and evil, why would I want a good politician for? I mean, I would want a businessman. I wouldn't want a politician. What's so good about that? So it's like, but that's not the qualification. People don't know, presidents are not actually supposed to be above the people. They're actually supposed to be like, what do you call it? Common. They're supposed to be common. They're actually supposed to be of the people. They're not actually supposed to be above anybody. And even though Trump was rich, he also lost a lot of money and made a lot of mistakes in business. That's how you know he wasn't a conservative, because he lost a lot of money. I don't know what his tax return said, but they said he lost like a couple $1 billion. It was like a lot of money. And how many conservatives do you know would take risks like that and lose that much money? And in fact, the stereotype of conservatives usually is that they have a lot of money and they keep it and they don't pay taxes and stuff. So the fact that Trump was the opposite of that lets you know that he wasn't actually a conservative. and he cheated on his wife. How many conservatives you know cheat on their wife? I mean, come on. But he chose something that he basically his C students. A lot of people understand his C students always like challenges too. C students are always the creators too. They create and they like challenge. So he ran for Republican because he knew it would be a challenge. And I don't know if he knew he was going to win or what, but he did everything different. You know, Hillary did everything as you expected. You got Jay-Z up in there, Beyonce, you got all these people paying all these people, all these celebrities to speak for you. And she didn't do, I don't remember her doing any type of campaigns, like speeches. I think I remember like 3. But Trump was everywhere. He was having speeches like every day. Matter of fact, after he won, he was still doing speeches. He was still doing rallies. I mean, how many presidents do you know did rallies after they won? This dude was still rallying people up. He ain't even became president yet, and he already doing stuff. And he paid for his own venues. That means, like, if he would show up at a rally, he paid for that space. So he can bring in anybody he want to bring. So he didn't need celebrities. He was the celebrity. Hillary, because she's so boring and robotic, she needed celebrities. But even with that, she still lost. She spent more money than Trump and still lost. And Trump basically proved that it's not about spending money. It's about what are you actually going to do? What can you actually do? Because, you know, and he sold it. He sold what he was going to bring. Now, we don't know what he's going to bring, but he brought actual change. He proved that, I mean, a black person winning, a black person winning president proved that we're not racist. Or either that we're either not racist or we don't want to be seen as racist. So for people not to want to be seen racist, that's enough to show that we're either not racist or we care enough to not want to be seen as racist. So that's what that proved. But black people got lazy. But after Obama won, we got lazy. We were like, hey, black president, okay, we ain't got to do nothing. We ain't got to prove nothing. We ain't got better communities. We ain't got better our families. Because black man president, we chilling now. That's all we wanted. Be the black president. It wasn't that way back then. We were trying to stop slavery and get human rights and stuff. A lot of people don't know it. It wasn't about civil rights. It was about human rights. Human rights meant that you can own property. You have right to own property, right to your own land, right to yourself. So a lot of people know, like, the reason why the company said no color is because it was private property. You could say you can't. It would be dumb business to say no colors, but because it was private property, you can tell people not to be on your property. It was your right. So what blacks really wanted was human rights. They wanted to have their own companies, hotels, businesses, schools, teachers, cops, but they wanted to be left alone. But because they were 3/5 of the human being and they weren't equal to whites, they didn't have human rights. Whites could come in and burn down their shops and stuff, burn down their businesses, and they couldn't do anything about it because they weren't equal to whites. So whites had natural born rights. They were naturally born. God had God-given rights. They could protect themselves. Gun rights is a God-given right. I have a right to protect my property. So, but blacks didn't have that. They couldn't have guns. In fact, the first thing, the banning of the guns came about because of slavery. During slavery, blacks weren't allowed to own guns because they didn't want them to uprise. They didn't. So if you think about gun rights, They were mostly in poor communities or black communities or um, ethnic communities, whatever, different communities. They were mostly in those communities because they didn't want them to fight back if they would be attacked. So yeah, the blacks wanted human rights. They didn't want no civil rights. But the problem was you're asking the government for human rights. The government doesn't want you to have human rights. They're just trying to make money and keep their government going. So we made a deal. We said, well, we can't give human rights, but we're going to go for civil rights. And civil rights is just, it kind of sucks. It's basically just voting rights and right to a fair trial or something like that. But if I had my own land, if I had my own businesses, my own court system, my own judges, my own lawyers, my own cops, why do I need your court system for? I don't need civil rights if I have my own court system. If blacks have their own courts, their own banks, their own business, their own cops, their own lawyers, why do I need civil rights? I don't need civil rights. I'm not following your laws. We have our own laws. So we don't need civil rights. We need human rights. So we made a deal with the government. Basically, deal with the devil. And every time you're making a deal with the government, you're not getting what you wanted. You're getting what they can give you. So the difference with Trump was he said racist stuff. He said sexist stuff. He said misogynist stuff. But the people still didn't care. All they saw was businessman. What they saw was, if I have a job and if I can take care of my family and get my kids into college or anything like that, then I don't really care what the government is doing. I don't need government at all. I just need to take care of my family, take care of myself, making sure my family's okay, making sure my neighborhood is safe, and that's all I care about. I don't need the government to take care of me. And people wanted Hillary and Bernie because they wanted the government to take care of them. Because every time you want the government to do something for you, you just keep giving up your rights. You're not really gaining anything, you're losing things. Every time you think you're gaining something from the government, because government literally means control mind. All they're doing is they just want to control the mind, whatever. You're not really gaining anything. So you got Hillary on one side bringing in more laws, more people giving up their rights, their responsibilities. Every time you give up your right, every time you give up your responsibility, there's something you would do yourself, and you're delegating it to the government, then you just gave up a right. If you want the government to pay for your education, instead of getting a job, making up enough money, saving it up, and go to college that you want to go to, you're basically making it so that the government now can put you in any college they want to. That's all here. It's like once you give up that responsibility to the government, they can choose whatever they want for you now. So a lot of people don't know about, if you're on welfare, all your food that you get has to be WIC approved. Meaning it has to be it basically has a seal on it. Meaning you can only get this food. You can't have that food. Like if I try to go to Whole Foods with a welfare, it ain't gonna work. I need to use real money. I can't get the stuff at Whole Foods. I gotta go to places where stuff is WIC approved. And what do you think is gonna happen when the government makes education free? It's gonna make it so the government can tell you what college you go to. You can say, hey, I want to go to Duke. No, we can't go to Duke because the government's in charge of what education you can have. See, now you can choose. You can say, you know what, I want to go to a black college. I want to go to a white college. I want to go to a women college. I want to go to a Jewish college, a Christian college. But if the government is paying for all the education, then you don't have that choice. You have to go to the college they tell you to go to. You don't have a choice. A lot of people don't know what socialism is either. They want to burn you up in there. People don't know how dangerous socialism is. Socialism sucks on paper and in real life. Alright. Here's what socialism, I'm going to end it with this. Here's what socialism actually is. Now, if I had a cell phone and you don't, for us to be equal, we have to both have a cell phone. Matter of fact, if I have a Samsung phone and you have an Apple phone, matter of fact, you can't even have this phone because you didn't create it. So if you want a Samsung phone, you have to make the Samsung phone. If you didn't make it, you can't have it. People are thinking, and you know what? Only way we can all have a cell phone is that somebody with wealth we have to take away wealth from others so we can all have a cell phone. That means, but the problem when you take away wealth from the people who create the cell phones is now they don't have any wealth. So now they don't have a company to create the cell phones. So it would mean that's how messed up this thing is. People don't even realize what this stuff is. If you take the wealth from the people who make cell phones to give everybody cell phones, his company won't make enough money to pay people to make the cell phones, and guess what? The result will be no cell phone for nobody. That means we're all gonna be equal then because we won't have no cell phones. We won't have cell phones, and people don't know, like in like North Korea, they have like the true socialism, true fascism, communism. They made a cell phone, right? But it's not as good as other cell phones because they made a cell phone, but it's not as good as other people's phones. But because everybody has to be equal, they can only use this cell phone. But because there's so much poverty and people can't even afford it anyway, nobody can even have this cell phone anyway. So if I want a Samsung phone, I can't have it because I didn't create it. The government didn't create it, so we can't have it. That's what socialism is. You only can have what you created and produced. So we didn't produce it and didn't create it, we can't have it. That's why when you go to North Korea, nobody got no car. So everybody's riding around on bikes. That's because that's what the government creates. They create bikes. They don't create cars. That's why you don't see nobody in no car. And everybody got a bike. You think about why do they make these highways and nobody got no car? They ain't created, can't have it. But the leader, he got way more money than everybody. I don't know, see how these people, because there's a lot of places in North Korea that you don't even see. There's like so many poor places and starving people and dying, you don't even see these places. They got, YouTube videos all day on this stuff. So socialism is not gonna work. If you're not doing anything to produce a product and all you're doing is getting it, somebody still has to do something for you to have it. So I'm working for you now, basically. If I was a wealthy person and then you did nothing to get the product, but I have to give you product so you can have your like fake utopia, I have to be doing something, and then you have to be doing nothing because all you're doing is consuming. You're not creating anything. You're just consuming the product that somebody else creates. So I don't know if that's actually what you want, but here's the thing. Wealthy people are not afraid of the government. That's why that's why people strive so much to be rich. Because they don't want people telling them what to do. But you know who's afraid of the government? It's us. It's us, the regular people. So who do you think the wealth is going to come from? You think it's going to be from Bill Gates? He's not afraid of the government. He don't care what the government's doing. He does what he wants. You think it's coming from Warren Buffett, who pays like nothing in almost taxes because of charities? It's going to come from you. Because as a collective of poor and middle class, we actually create wealth. Because if you take all the people in the world and you put all the money together, it's wealthy. It creates wealthy people. Hey, we want to do this group politics craziness. What do you think is going to happen? They're not going to go after individual rich people. They're going to take the collective's money and accumulate and put it together, and that's going to be the wealth they're going to take. They're not. You don't think, guys, people, you don't realize what you're doing. You have no idea. They're not going to take Bill Gates is not afraid of the government. They're not going to take his wealth. They're going to take your wealth. You say, well, this guy working at Burger King, he has no wealth. No, if you take the collection of poor people and middle class people and you take all the money away, that's the wealth. The wealth of the collective. That's what democracy is. The wealth of the collective. What do you think is going to happen? They're not going to take no money from no wealthy people. They're going to be taking the wealth from everybody else. Because guess what? We're afraid of the government. We'll be the first ones to do it. The government, all I got to do is make a law that says we got to be equal. We got to take away wealth from the people so we can all be equal. We're going to be the first ones to do it because we're afraid of the government. You say, hey, you go to jail if you're not going to make everybody equal. They do the same thing in communism or Korea. You have to give up your wealth. You got to be equal. You know, there's no one person going to have all the wealth. All the while the leader got plenty of wealth. There's no one person can have all the wealth. The collective has to be equal. We can't have, if I want a bologna sandwich, I can't have it because not everybody can have it. So, yeah, just understand that all you gotta do is think more and just understand that nothing is free. There's always a consequence. It might be free for you, but it costs money for somebody else. So there is no free. Only freedom is that we have equal opportunity. That's what we have. We don't need to be diverse. We need to be diverse ideas. That's what we need. If a house is burning down, if I'm part of a group, if I'm part of the don't jump out this house is on fire group, and we all voted to don't jump out the house if it's on fire, because I'm in a group, I can't jump out the house because it's on fire. I'm gonna burn to death. I'm gonna burn to death. But if we were individuals, I know. You know what? I'm not with y'all. I'm not trying to burn alive up in here. I'm gonna jump out. We have to be individuals, not groups. We start individuals, then we become groups. But you're gonna have to be individuals first. If you do that, you'll be all right.